Hi, I'm Chris Avina with American Outdoor News. In today's episode, we have Michael Edgehouse from CutRite Mobile App. Mike, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this cool thing that we did.
Now, technology is really just flying
Yeah.
every day there's something new. Now, the CutRite Mobile App basically teaches you how to field dress, butcher, everything that you need to know about after the shot is on this app.
That's 100% correct. So, you know, I remember that the synthesis for the idea of this app came from me when I was working on another little side project I had. And I remember killing my first bull elk and walking up to the thing and thinking, what in the hell am I supposed to do with this? It's the size of a horse. Knowing I've growing up in Ohio, I've field dressed hundreds of deer, right?
Yep.
You know, all of us outside the high school shooting deer on opening day, blah, 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 hanging them from the oak tree in the front lawn. And I remember desperately when there was no cell service in the mountains, trying to get a YouTube video to pop up on my phone of how to field dress this elk, knowing damn well that it's the exact same as a deer. It's just 5 times the size, but with no reception whatsoever, cursing my phone, cursing everything, and then just diving into it. I mean, you know, I didn't download any videos or whatnot. So fast forward a couple years from that, and I'm doing some education, teaching people how to field dress and stuff. And I said, you know, this would make a really great app. It actually came from one of the guys, John Gabriel, that helped design our logo. He said, Mike, you're an amazing educator, but the future is in digital. The future is being able to take education. I love the idea of having an in-person class, but if you can digitize this, now you can have a career in this, and now you can do this. The classes are great, but you need to go mobile. And so, Chris, I reached out. This is a true story. I reached out to my partners at Got Game Tech. I sent a cold email. They had no clue who I was whatsoever. And I sent an email to Taylor and I said, pitched him my idea in about 3 sentences. And I remember specifically, it was 2 years ago in June, about 7:30 in the morning, I was having my coffee on the back porch. It took him, and he'll attest to this, about 35 seconds to call me on the phone. And I answered, not knowing the number. Today is Michael. And he said, Mike, it's Taylor from Got Game Tech. And I said, holy hell, I emailed you less than a minute ago. And he said, I know, I'm going up elk scouting right now. I need to talk to the other 3 partners, but I think I can speak for them. We're in. Nothing like this exists. It'll help so many people. We're in. And from there, we've spent the past 2 years filming. What you said is 100% correct, Chris. It is, we're billing it as the only digital tool you need in your kill kit. So it is a mobile app that's available on the App Store or Google Play Store. Right now, we have field dressing, doing the gutless method for both deer and elk. We didn't get a spring bear this year. Rather, I didn't get a spring bear this year. Mine is trying really hard. We got one last year, but weren't super excited about the footage and the way it came out. And so we didn't want to put it on the app. But you field dress, gutless method, elk and deer, and there are different modules on there. And then we have it at the butcher block as well. So I walk through butchering all of the cuts on an elk and a deer on your own. So you don't have to take your animal to the butcher or anything else.
Now,
go ahead.
Explain the gutless method versus the traditional.
Absolutely. And I I had a conversation with some guys in Pennsylvania yesterday about this, and I'll never gut an animal again unless I'm trying to get the caul fat out to like wrap meatballs up, or you know, I have a plan with the caul fat. I'm never going to do that. So the gutless method versus the gut method. Let's start with the gut method first, right? You have to, ideally, you want to, you know, cut a hole around the bung hole, pull it out, tie it off so you don't spill, you know, fecal matter all over your meat. Then you slice up that abdominal cavity to the sternum. You can reach your arm all the way up in there and grab everything in the throat, cut it out, and it all comes out in one nice big fell swoop. The problem with gutting an animal, one, you got blood all over you now, right?
Mhm.
There's no amount of glove that can cover up to your elbow to prevent you from getting covered and all that stuff. You have the gut pile to deal with, and it's just kind of messy. And what are you left with? You're left with a whole carcass with the pelt on that still has its legs, its neck meat, and its back straps and loins attached,
Uh-huh.
right? Which is fine. If you're taking the animal out and you're going to hang it in your garage, it's November in New York or Pennsylvania or Ohio, and you have the ability to do that, that's fine. But now you have to, if you're taking that animal out that way, you have a whole animal to drag out. And I know whitetail deer, which I grew up hunting and still hunt, that's doable. But when you get to a big mule deer, you get to an elk, even a small cow, that is not happening unless you have a side by side.
That's a lot to drag out.
Yes. So what happens with the gutless method? You kill the animal, you walk up on it, you don't even go into that abdominal cavity. So what you're going to do, if you can picture this and the listeners can picture this, you go at the base of the skull with your knife and you run a line from the base of the skull all the way down to the tail. Okay. And that's your initial cut. And then what you're going to do, and this is all detailed on the app as well and shows exact cuts, where to do it. You're basically going to remove the skin, pull it down from that back strap area, and then you're going to cut around the legs, the lower legs, the front and the back, and pull that skin up or continue to pull down. And you're basically taking the pelt off in pieces that way. And now with the front shoulder, when you take that off, that's pretty easy. There's no bony attachment on the front shoulder, right? It's all muscle. So they're not huge, even on an elk. They're big, but not undoable with one person. You lift it up, you cut that off, it comes off pretty easy. Where most people get super frustrated with the gutless method is that hindquarter. Because just like humans that have a hip with a socket and then that ball of the femur that goes in, that damn thing it can be really hard to find. And then you're also dealing with the fact that the guts are starting to expand because gases and bacteria are building up since the animal's dead. And that's kind of right there. But if you know where that is, and again, I mean, this is about the app. I walk through on the app. The muscles actually point directly to where that ball is on the hindquarter. You don't have to worry about the guts if you know how those muscles point.
Yep.
You're going to go down, you take your knife and you release that ball from the ball and socket. You cut up the face of that pelvis and you literally are going to lift. I mean, on an elk, it can be, a 60, 70, 80 pound hindquarter completely up. And you're basically taking the front and back leg off of the animal on each side.
So you're quartering it and taking the back straps.
That's what you're doing. You're quartering it, taking the back straps,
and the mount if you want it.
Right, but you're not really quartering it because you're not taking the spinal column and the ribs and everything else. I get the rib meat and that meat that covers the rib to make like a rouladon and stuff like that. But you're not spilling guts at all. It's never coming on your hand. You don't ever have to worry about it. There's even a super cool way after you pull the back straps off. Someone that's never done it says, well, you have to go in the gut cavity to get the tenderloin. And yet it's the tenderloin sits on top of that gut cavity, right? So you don't have to go in it. If you know where it is, and we walk you through that too, it's right below the vertebrae where the back strap that you took off. It's a simple, small little cut. And honestly, I mean, you've removed them a ton. I used the knife one time on the tenderloin to release it from the front, and then the whole thing pulls out with your hand and you don't need to use your knife again. So it's very safe. It keeps you clean. What I found personally, Chris, especially hunting out here in northern Idaho, sometimes time is of the essence. You kill an animal at 10 a.m., you don't have a lot of time to get it done. And the gutless method is fast, right? I mean, once you get it down, you do a couple animals, you have some guidance there, it is fast, right? And your hands get bloody because you cut that femoral artery and stuff, but you're not getting fecal matter, you're not getting urine all over yourself. It's great. It really is great.
I'm a traditionalist. I've always done the traditional field dressing. And I've taught, I don't know how many people how to do it. And if you're not hunting with somebody that is familiar, you really shouldn't take the shot.
That's a huge thing with what's going on out here in Idaho. We're getting a lot of people moving in, right? And resident tags in Idaho are affordable. They're extremely affordable. And everybody that has never hunted in their life from states that aren't as easy to get tags in or that are located next to the water over on the West Coast, things along those lines, they've never hunted. They go out, buy a gun, they get their tag, and they go out and they gut shot animals. They shoot animals, in areas that, I mean, an experienced hunter, I would never shoot an animal in some of the areas, and they're like, oh, I shot it. And then they don't know what the heck to do with it. And they take the back straps or they take whatever they can and they get the heck out of there. And, I can't tell you some of the remote areas where I've walked up and I've seen the head and back straps taken off an animal and the whole thing's laying there just rotting. And, that's one of the ideas with this app. Like,
It's tragic.
yeah, it's tragic, but if you don't have somebody to go with you, you might be a good, outdoorsman and fieldsman, but not a good, person with a knife. Not, you always needed somebody there. That's where CutRite comes in. It is that person there with you. I mean, some of the videos are a bit longer, right? They're like 10 minutes or so, but it walks you through step by step. And the key feature that we definitely wanted to instill on this app to help people like that is all the videos are downloadable. So it doesn't matter if you have cell phone reception, internet or not. You can simply, you're going deer hunting, you have no idea what the hell you're doing with the hindquarter, you download that video, right?
I tell you, one of the freakiest things to field dress, if you've never done it before, is a bear.
Oh man,
it's like you're field dressing a person.
You're striking a chord with me. I think you and I even had this chat, or me and somebody else just recently had this chat. I am so enamored with bear. Like, both the meat, the flavor, everything about bear, I love it. But I agree with you 100%. Whereas with the elk and deer, it's really those shoulders and those hips that are huge muscles, and like the forearms aren't that big. Man, Chris, when you cut open that bear, their biceps and triceps aren't that big. It's their damn forearms. It's their
huge.
It's so person-like, right? And you take it off and you realize you're like, wait a minute, this thing on an elk is like the size of a tennis ball, but on the bear, it's the size of a volleyball.
Yeah.
The upper leg is small, and you're like, it is freaky as hell. I agree with you on that.
I was hunting with some friends, and I get a text. My son just shot a bear. Can you come help? So, yeah, sure. I climb out of my stand. I hop on my ATV. I zip over across to where they are, which was probably about 300 acres away.
Yep.
And I get there. I'm like, well, where's the bear? They're like, it's over in the weeds. And I had my bow, and it was, bear season. So here in New York, bear season, early bear season, you could hunt with any weapon. Crossbow, bow, rifle. I had my bow.
Yeah.
So he shot it with his rifle. And I'm like, where is it? He says, over in the weeds. I said, is it dead? I don't know. I said, did you check it? No. I said, all right. I said, chamber around.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have any more bullets.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
This just got Western.
I go over there and I poke it with the stick. The thing is dead.
Yeah.
He shot it 3 times with a 06.
Oh yeah. That's going down.
So I go to grab it and drag it over, and my hand goes into like a fist-sized hole in its shoulder.
Oh shit.
So I start dragging it, and him and his dad are there watching. I'm like, dude, this is your bear. I'm like, get over here and help me drag it.
That's correct. That's correct.
We drag it over to a clear area, and I walked them through how to field dress it. And, I had the thing sprawled out on its back, legs and arms and legs sprawled out. And I'm cutting it open. He's like, oh my God. He's like, that looks like a person. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty freaky.
It really does. Well, and that's, you made a good point there with bear. If you want to preserve the pelt for a rug, which I did with my first bear too, you're not going down that spine, right? You're coming up on the inside, you're coming up the legs because you want a nice rug, right? But well, you guys out there in New York, you have big bears, right? Like
You
you have
know,
400-pound bears.
it depends on where. Where we were, a typical bear in New York was probably 200 pounds, anywhere between like 180 and 250.
Okay.
You go
Okay.
further north, where I'm going to be going in September, you get 3, 4, 500-pound bear. You get big bear.
So, a good bear in northern Idaho is, 5'10" to 6'2". People will argue with me, but that's a good mature bear. Like you said, anywhere from 180 to 200 pounds, that's a big bear. We do get some giants, people killing, 6'10", 7-foot bears, but those are the exception, not the norm. I'll tell you, here's my prediction. Like, you remember, I mean, you're in New York, so you guys get steelhead and stuff there. And I grew up
Sure.
in right outside of Cleveland. And about 15 years ago, fly fishing and steelhead fishing got made super popular by, the fly fishing film tour and those guys that did that. They showed young guys fishing with heavy metal music. Then all of a sudden, every 20 something on the planet started fly fishing, and we lost all our favorite holes, right?
Yep.
And what happened with elk hunting about 6 years ago? Born and Raised made that awesome series, Land of the Free, Part 1. Really put elk hunting like, man, this is cool, right? Not people not knowing how actual hard it is. Now they do, because of the likes of, Cameron Haynes and those guys, which are awesome, showing everybody like, hey,
It's a tough hunt. It's physically draining.
You're damn right. But what's happened to elk hunting? It's hard to get a tag.
Yeah.
I think if people want to get their bear hunting in, they really should do it at least in the West in the next 3 years, because I have a feeling, bear tags are easy to come by in the West right now, but I think in 3 to 5 years, that animal is just, the hunting for it is going to get very, very popular. Personally, I love hunting bear in the spring.
I
right?
love hunting bear too.
The mountains changing, the colors coming up, the snow's melting, the weather's still there. And I love hunting bear in the spring. And then a couple of my friends and, good chefs that I've met through this business have said, have you had fall bear yet? And I said, no, I haven't. And they said, that's going to change your life when you have a fall bear.
We only have fall bear here.
Oh, so this year, no shit. This year, I'm elk hunting for a couple days with my son. Hopefully we'll kill a couple elk, because we've put about 7 years of scouting in. We know where they're at and what they do. And then I'm dedicating fall to bear hunting. I want a fall bear. I want to be able to cook it. I really want the bear fat. I mean, those things, I've never made biscuits with bear fat. And like, from what I heard, or pie crust with bear fat, I heard it's amazing.
Never did that.
Oh, and I heard the shelf life of bear fat, like when you render it down, it's forever. If you put it in a mason jar, like you have lard forever.
My friend has property up in the Adirondack, which is probably about 5 hours up.
Yeah.
And I was with them last week, and he's showing me pictures of bears on his camera, and his smallest bear was 300 pounds.
Oh,
3, 4, 500-pound bear. He shot at one 350 last year.
Yeah.
So I'm up there in September. I'm getting a new rug.
Well, that's you and I have a mutual friend with Mountain Man Deer Processing, and he and I were talking. My son, 13-year-old who elk hunts a lot, and he's a good killer, man. He's way better shot than I am. He busted his ass this year trying to get a bear, and it didn't come to fruition. And so, I said, I got to get this kid a bear. So I'm actually, even though we live in Idaho and bear are all around, it's hard hunting. Like, there's part of me that wants to take him up to Quebec or BC or somewhere and do one of those amazing bear hunts for one of those 600-700-pound giants.
Nothing's guaranteed. Yeah,
I
went to Maine bear hunting, and Maine's known for their bear hunting.
Yeah.
The only thing I came home with was a cooler full of lobster.
I mean, that's a pretty good ancillary price.
It was a bonus.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not too bad, but yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Bear hunting, man, it has a special place for me. People don't understand the value of controlling the predator population as well. What it does for the ungulate population. I mean, they are devastating too. Like right now, all the fawns and calves are dropping, and those bears are just feasting. So controlling the predators is huge out here in the West.
Yeah, we had a club in Sullivan County,
Yeah.
southern tier New York. We had 600 acres. We had more bear than deer. We would take more bear than deer on that property every year, and they just sold the property off. So, I don't know where the bear are going to go, but there were more bear than deer on that property. We didn't have to worry about the coyotes. We had to worry about the bear.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I got a funny story about bear meat because it has quickly become my favorite meat. I mean, now, albeit if you shoot a 1-year-old doe, that's delicious. If you
Yep.
shoot a 1-year-old elk, that's delicious. But a bear, I cooked it, and both my sons, they love it. They say that it is a cross between elk or whitetail and moo cow. And I agree with that. And so this is good. My wife refuses to eat bear, right? When I grind my bear for burgers, I grind it with a 15% bacon. So it kind of gives you an essence of bacon, not full on like bacon in your face.
Yep.
Almost like you're drinking like a bacon stout beer or something, just a little flavor of bacon in there, right? And so she's like, I'm not eating that. And my two sons and I are like, why aren't you eating that? She's like, it's a bear. I'm not eating it. I don't eat bear or deer. And my 13-year-old starts cracking up. And I know what he's going to do. And I look at him and I like whack him on the side of the arm and say, just shut the hell up. Don't, Luke, don't. And he
Don't say
starts
it. Don't do it.
He's like, Mom, you have no idea how much deer you've actually eaten. And she looks at me, I mean, like steam coming out of her ears. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, yeah, I may have cooked, a lot of deer over the past 3 years and just said it was elk. And you really liked it. And she's like, you've been feeding me deer instead of elk. I'm like, no, not all the time. But we only have so much meat. So yeah, you've eaten a lot of deer. And she was just like, I can't believe you did that. And
If they don't know,
yeah,
they'll say it. And especially if you know how to cook, which brings us to the next section of the app. You have a cooking section, which
yes,
you're talking my language here.
yes, man. If they don't know that you can make it. What's that line from Pulp Fiction? You can make sewer rat taste like pumpkin pie, but I'm not eating the damn thing, right? I mean, if you know how to cook, it's delicious. So yeah, man, you only get a limited time. Like it's out there like September, November, all that time is finite, right? You get
Yep.
most places you get one tag a year. So you field dress, you butcher, but now you have all this great meat. So over the past, I've always cooked, but over the past 4 years, I've really been hammering the wild game cooking and doing some crazy stuff, like experimenting. I go to restaurants with my wife and family, and I'll take pictures of the food, and I'll ask the waitress or the waiter, or the chef, like, hey,
What's in it?
What's in it? And then I'll think about what they did with moo cow or something on those lines and say, well, parsley oil doesn't pair well with elk, but if I made like a rosemary or sage oil, that would taste a lot better with that game flavor, and kind of doctor it up. So
Yep.
a lot of the recipes, I don't want to say they're stolen because they're not, but the inspiration comes from other places, right?
Yeah.
And then you're right. I just, everything from learning to put cornstarch as the first layer instead of flour when I deep fry heart, because it absorbs the oil more and doesn't make it like the crust fall off.
Yep.
To, I had one of my best friends retired from the Marine Corps this year, and as a retirement gift to him, we went on a whitetail hunt out here in Idaho. He'd never hunted before. And funny story, the deer pops out, a nice doe. And I said, you could take that one about 120 yards. And he's in the scope and he looks at me, and he's never hunted before, right? He's a city guy. He just came back from Okinawa. And I'm like, Matt, are you going to shoot that deer? And he's like, well, I'm a little torn. And I said, why are you torn? And he said, Well, I've never shot a deer, but I've also never seen a deer poop before either. And this deer's pooping right now. So he was watching this deer poop through this
Wait,
rifle scope. And
wait for it to finish.
that's how he's like, I feel bad. And I was like, well, just wait for it to finish. And thank God he did, because a beautiful buck popped out at like 360 yards. And, I shoot a 30-06 I've had my entire life. It's a rusty barrel, hanging on for dear life. And he looks at me and he says, is your gun good at 356 yards? And I said, I mean, I shoot everything like 200 yards. Like, it probably is everything.
So, yeah.
So, and, he made an amazing shot. This nice buck dropped right away. And I looked at him and said, man, like that was a great shot, 300 and some yards, like never hunted before. And, he said, I've actually been practicing the past 23 years of my career for this moment. It just wasn't for this moment, being a Marine.
Yep.
And so we came back to the house and, enjoying quite a few adult beverages, and he loves tartar and I've loved tartar. And so we looked up a bunch of tartar recipes, and I've never done it with venison before. And we kind of combined, made some special oils. And I'll tell you what, that venison tartar, which isn't on the app now, but it's on my Instagram. It will be out on the app. Like I said, I have 30 some recipes on it now, and probably another 40 to 50 set to go with the updated version that'll be coming out, even though the first version just launched. It was legitimately two ways. It's the best thing I ever made, and it's the best thing I've ever eaten. And I've eaten a lot of stuff across the country and across the world.
That's great.
It was, those certain things. And Chris, you probably made those dinners where you cut into something, you're like, holy hell, that is delicious. And I can't believe I just made it.
I just did that.
What was it?
Well, I do the cooking section for the magazine, American Outdoor News.
Yeah.
And I had a rabbit, and I never cooked a rabbit before. So I'm like kind of tossing some ideas around in my head. I said, maybe I'll just wrap it in bacon. Everything's good wrapped in bacon.
Absolutely.
I'm like, that's plate. Everybody does bacon. So I'm in the grocery store and I see some andouille sausage. I'm like, oh, I like andouille. So I grab some of that, and I'm thinking, I grab some garlic, some onions. Then I text my friend Scott Lacey, the game chef.
Yeah.
I'm like, Scott, I have a rabbit to cook. This is what I'm thinking, with the andouille, the garlic. And he's like, oh, you can add some red wine and some stock, and maybe toss in some rice at the end. So we kind of collaborated on a new recipe, and I got to tell you, it came out amazing.
It sounds kind of like it's a little cottontail gumbo-esque type stew.
It was. It was.
Man.
And I gave some to my father, who is not an outdoorsman, does not like game food. I told him it was chicken. I mean, you pull on it, it's white meat. It pulls off like chicken.
Yep.
So next day, he's like, oh my God, that chicken was amazing. I said, I'm so glad you like it. It was rabbit.
It was cottontail. That was little Peter Cottontail. That goes same with my wife. They don't know what the hell they're eating. They're going to love it.
Yep.
So here's one for you with the deer and stuff you've killed. Have you taken the sirloin cap and actually cooked it as a steak, or do you do what probably 95% of the hunting public does and just throw it in the grind? Have you made it a steak?
I've done steaks. I've done chicken fried steaks. I've done, do you like veal Sorrentino?
Oh yeah.
Venison Sorrentino.
Really?
Amazing.
Really?
Amazing.
Okay. So this is one. So, butchering one of my son's deer, I saw that, I know what the sirloin cap is. It was a very small deer. And I saw this and I thought, most people throw this into the grind pile, because you take that sirloin cap, the rounds off, the hindquarters done, and you have like this flap of meat hanging off near the head of the femur, right? Yep. Most people just cut that off. They're like, it's squishy. There's no uniformity to it. Throw it in the grind pile. I said, no. And I kept it. And so we made steaks. My wife wanted a moo cow steak. The boys wanted elk, and I wanted to do the sirloin cap. And I cook all my wild game minus bear to 129 degrees, right? So I cook it, and we're sitting there eating, and I'm cutting it. And I am legitimately, as I'm eating this, I'm going, And my wife looks up at me from across the table. She says, what in the hell is wrong with you? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you're like groaning and stuff. Like you're kind of making me a little nauseous. And I said, honest to God, Kristen, I will put this sirloin cap up against any moo cow steak I've ever had. And she's like, it's from a damn deer. And I was like, it is that good. And I tell you now, and we've always cooked them, but every animal we kill, that is like, people love backstrap, tenderloin, kind of like you said with bacon, like some of that's overplayed. Everyone does it. Everyone loves that.
Yep.
That sirloin cap, people are missing the boat if they don't take that and just cook it to 129. And I've gotten in the habit now. I don't even cook stuff on the grill. I sear it in cast iron and bacon
Love
fat.
cast iron.
Cast iron. I put a hell of a good coating of, seasoning on it. I throw it in sizzling bacon fat, and then I throw it in a 400-degree oven to get the uniformity and the doneness. There's no other way to cook a steak. If you're still cooking it on a grill, you're not doing it right.
Do you like Thai food?
I love Thai food. Yeah.
Thai massaman venison curry.
That sounds delicious. I can get behind that.
I cooked it I made it at deer camp, and these guys were like orgasming. They're like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing they ever had." And that's one of my top 3 venison dishes.
So one of my top elk dishes, right? We've heard of Thai beef basil or Thai basil beef, right?
Sure.
It's pretty mild. It's a little bit of fish sauce, a little bit of
spice.
Yeah, a little spice, not much. It depends on what kind of peppers you throw into it. Because most people take that bottom round from an animal. It's kind of rough. They turn it into jerky, which is delicious.
Yeah.
But I take it, I slice it, into 3 or 4 sheets, pound it super thin, slice it into strips, and I make Thai basil elk out of it. And
wow.
It's, I do it at elk camp as well. But just like we're talking, you sear it in a hot wok, you throw everything. It's like an 8-minute meal, right? It takes 15 minutes to prep, about 8 minutes to cook. People say that they don't have time to deal with the wild game and everything. It's like, you just don't have the recipes to do it.
Deer camp, we had me and my friend Matt. He's got a YouTube channel also.
Yeah.
We ate gourmet every time we were up there. It was like a contest, who made the better dish, him or me. And
I love that. And
it was beautiful.
The only thing that I don't make from scratch when I'm at elk camp, whether it's with, the grown-ups, my adult hunting partners, or my sons, because I take them out on hunts every year. I have an 8-year-old and 13-year-old. The only thing I don't make from scratch are mashed potatoes. I will use instant mashed potatoes out here in Idaho.
You just killed me, man.
I know, but mashed potatoes are such a pain in the ass. There's so much cleanup from the starch in the mashed potatoes at elk camp. If I use those Idaho potatoes, they're fine, they're manageable. We don't eat a ton of mashed potatoes, but I'll oftentimes, do crispy kind of fried potatoes in the skillet, like hash brown style or cube style. But every once in a while, a mashed potato, especially after a real long day, you grill up some meat, you do some veggies. Like I love shishito peppers with wild game.
Okay.
Like to me, some grocery stores, the shishito peppers are super spicy, but for the most part, they're a mild pepper with a great flavor, and they just complement wild game. So I'll saute those up. I'll grill some meat, and just for the carb, because after a 10-mile day, you need the carb. We'll do some instant mashed potatoes. That's a go-to. That's like a de facto meal at elk.
And you don't have to carry them to elk camp.
Yeah, you don't have to carry 20 pounds of frickin' potatoes, man. You carry 6 little things.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, the idea
practicality.
You want to come out heavy, not go in heavy, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh shoot, that's awesome. I'm so
funny.
Happy to hear other people cook the way I do it at their hunting camps.
Well, I'm sure both of us will be coming out with a cookbook soon.
Yeah, there's the plan. Like I said, I have about 50 more recipes fired up that I've been working on. And, I don't know, I just posted a whole thing on Instagram about taking a bear top round, butterflying it out, pounding it thin and stuffing it. I've done it with backstraps 100 times. I never thought about bear. And it turned out amazing. You know, I stuffed it with a little goat cheese, some roasted
Nice.
peanuts, a little bit of green, so a little bit of wilted spinach. And then I was going to do just shrimp, you know, kind of like it was kind of a play on like bear like to eat seafood. So we're going to put some seafood in it, and salmon wasn't the right thing. And I was thinking about it, kind of like you, I was walking through the grocery store. I'm like, it needs some level of spice in there. So I bought some chorizo. And so I stuffed it with goat cheese, pine nuts, a little wilted spinach, and then chopped shrimp and chorizo and
Oh,
put it on the
nice.
smoker. And ooh, I got that bear to, I think I pulled it at like 162. And man, it was delicious. It was another one of those meals where my wife, I'm like groaning while I'm eating, and my wife's like, seriously, you can't eat that shit around
So
me. I can't
the
stand
one
your
thing
voice.
about bear is it has to be cooked well because you don't want to get trichinosis. But
Yep.
even if it's cooked well, it's still a juicy meat. It's
Hey,
the
Chris,
weirdest thing.
you are preaching. I had a group of people, and I cooked young venison, adult elk backstrap, and then bear top round. And I grilled them because we didn't have, you know, a good oven at the time. And I grilled the venison and elk to 129. And I grilled the elk because I wanted to be uber careful. This was just a group of friends or the bear to 172. When I pulled it out, I let everything rest. I cut it, blood pouring everywhere from the deer and elk, as it should. And I cut that bear. Juices were pouring out, but it was ashen gray on the inside. And everyone's like,
Yep.
that is way overcooked. And so I cut it up, you know, so you could put a toothpick in it and taste everything. There was the majority of the elk and the deer left, and that bear was gone. People were like, I have never had bear, and it is
I
delicious.
did the same thing, and they were like licking the pan. They couldn't get enough bear.
Well, you know, you said it perfectly. You need to cook it to, I say 161. Like the literature says 160. I always do one above that. I've fought tooth and nail with people up here say, no, 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 it's 147 for like 8 hours. I'm like, yeah, you do whatever you want. Enjoy
No,
trichinosis. I'm going to get 161, period. But
the
even if it's,
safest thing to do with a bear, you throw the roast on a smoker for an hour.
yep,
Take it off the smoker, throw it in a crock pot. Leave it
100%.
there for 3 hours, the thing falls apart.
I did, I'll one up y'all. You should try this recipe. Check it out. I'll send you the thing, but it's also on our Instagram. There's barbacoa, and I made barbacoa. I took all the bear shanks and I rubbed them, you know, with some oregano and smoked paprika, and I put them on the smoker for 3 hours just at 200, right? Just to get that intense smoke and form a little crust. Then I threw them into the Dutch oven, and I put a bunch of beef stock and, you know, bay leaves and some onions and some garlic that I sauteed in there. And I braised it for, I think it was like 7 hours at 275. You know, and when I braise, I put a layer of parchment paper down on top, or a layer of tinfoil, and then I cover it with parchment paper.
Yep.
And people look at it like, why the hell you do that? I said, those lids aren't airtight. If you don't put an additional layer down, you're going to evaporate a lot, and you're going to end up with this thick paste. And I want it to be a true like braise.
Juicy.
This thing I had a couple world travelers, good friends, over for dinner that night, and we made street tacos out of it. And he looked at me and he said, Michael, you need to open your own restaurant. And I said, Greg, I got so much other stuff going on, and there ain't no way in hell I'm going to open a restaurant. And he was like, I've been all over the world eating street tacos. Like, it's our go-to food. These are the best tasting tacos I've ever had in my life. And we hadn't even drank that much at that time. So I know he was legit with what he was saying.
Well, I'll say I kind of get the same thing when you
Yeah.
open in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Food industry sucks.
Oh man,
You
there's
couldn't pay me enough to open a restaurant.
hell no. I'll just do what I'm doing and let other people make it. I've teased, I've said I'll have a food truck, but then I think about that. I'm like, man, I don't want to deal with that. Like, think about the excess inventory you're going to have. That
Yep.
and you can't legitimately, you know, legally sell wild game to people on the street. And I know I could cook, you know, pork and chicken and beef and moo cow, but man, I'm a wild game person. Like, I cook my
Yep.
stuff with wild game, and I can't sell
Is
that.
that a particular breed of cow, the moo cow?
So it really is. It's a black and white or a brown and white cow.
Yeah.
No, actually, you know, I think I told you, Chris, I'm a biologist, and I teach, you know, biology at the college here. And you know, I let my students know just enough about me that, you know, they don't know my personal life and stuff. And
Yep.
I made a comment one time teaching an anatomy and physiology class, and I was like, well, a moo cow's, you know, has this and they chew their cud and stuff. And I had like 3 guys show up to me after class and they're like, when did you start hunting? And I said, how did you know I hunt? And he said, nobody calls it a moo cow if you're not a hunter. Because out here in Idaho, a cow is an elk. So moo cows are beef, but a cow is an elk. You know, if you say,
Yep.
I saw a bunch of cow on the side of the road, they immediately everyone's like, where at? What was the GPS? What was it? Because they think it's cow elk. Right. So that's true.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. Well, you
Yeah.
gotta, if you're ever in New York, you gotta attend one of my All-American game dinners.
Oh,
My next
I'm all
one's
in.
the end of January, which is always a wild affair. We auction off guns and hunting gear, and people are dancing in the aisles, having such a good
Oh,
time.
I love it. Well, like I said, I grew up in Ohio. My family still lives, you know, outside of Cleveland. My wife grew up in Philadelphia, and that's where we met. So I'll have to look at the calendar and our next scheduled trip to Philadelphia. I'll try to plan it around something like that. That would be just a hoot.
It's my partner does most of the cooking on that, but he's a outstanding game chef.
I love it.
So,
I love it. I would get some inspiration from him for sure.
but we're running out of time here.
Okay.
Where can we find your app? How to field dress and how to find all these amazing recipes that we're talking about?
Absolutely, Chris. So we just launched last week in the App Store. So if you go to the, you know, Apple App Store, type in CutRite, and that's CutRite, you know, like a rite of passage. So a CutRite. It's there. It's also under CutRite in the Google Play Store. We're running probably the biggest giveaway that we're ever going to run right now. If you subscribe to the app, you get 10 entries into it. And if you go and Instagram says you can't say follow our partners. You know, we don't receive monetary incentives from any of our partners. We just use their stuff because it's kick-ass products.
Yeah.
And I have a list on there, but if you on the Instagram, if you go and follow them, give them a like, it gets you an extra entry into it. We're giving away a Kafaru backpack and frame. I started using Kafaru years ago, full price. I don't receive a dime from them. They're an awesome backpack. We're giving away a shank knife, best nut hunting knife. Again, I don't receive anything. Like, we just use their stuff. Some born and raised outdoor, you know, bags, game bags, last lights, a light string for when you kill your animal at night. It runs on a simple battery pack for 12 hours. Ivory Holsters is throwing in a custom, you know, sidearm holster that attaches to your backpack, somewhere on there to carry your firearm, and a few others. It's a truly well over $1,000, probably approaching $2,000 giveaway. You download the app, you get 10 entries, you follow and like a few things, you get an additional entry. You know, it's funny, I'm sure you do this. If you ever do a giveaway, you have all friends that come out of the woodwork and say like, hey, my email's this and I really need a backpack. And I say,
Yep.
That's fantastic. Like,
Don't work that way.
It doesn't work that way, man. Like, I'm not screwing over the rest of the public for this. So it's all monitored by that. But the best thing about the app right now, you know, to push it, we wanted to make something that when people see it, they're like, hey, that's a great idea. We can do it. They can do it. There's no chance in hell they're doing it better. We set the bar so high with this, with ourselves, which is why it's been so long in the making. And then we thought, you know what? What's going to be the biggest hitter? The price of the app. Like, there's a few others out there that have the butchering and the cooking and the field dressing, and they're close to 3 figures a year. Ours is $14.99.
Wow.
So it's, you know, it's the cost of going to Dunkin' Donuts and getting a couple Bavarian creams and a large with cream and sugar. And right now until June 30th, it's 50% off. So it's $7.50. So enter into that. I'm the social media guy for it. Have never done social media in my life. So I'm like floundering along, but I post stuff every day, recipes. And that's at CutRite Mobile on Instagram. And I try to do some funny stuff too. Like when I cut my finger off cutting kale, one of my friends said, hey, you should make a reel on how to cook dinner that your mom used to make you. And I mean, no offense to my mom, she was not a cook. And so I made a reel on how to boil hot dogs, put them on a piece of Wonder Bread with ketchup and pickle. And then, growing up in Ohio, we weren't super wealthy. So the after school snack was saltine crackers with butter smeared in the middle. So saltine and butter sandwiches. So I gave a really detailed reel on how to make a saltine butter sandwich.
Respect.
I mean, come on. My kids had never had it, and they saw me making it and they're like, I'm not eating that. And I put one on each of their plate. I said, try that saltine butter sandwich. I swear to Christ, my kids ask for them now. They're like, hey, can you make some more of those butter sandwiches? I'm like, they're really good, aren't they?
Well, my mom was a great cook. That's where I learned to cook.
Yep.
Unfortunately, she was not the most conscientious of what she was cooking with and where, she would put things. I bit into one of her meatballs, which my mother's meatballs are famous. Everybody in town knew about her meatballs.
I love it.
I bit into one of her meatballs and I found one of her fake nails.
Oh, shoot. I
was
At least
traumatized.
it was a fake nail and not a piece of a finger that I cut off.
I was grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chris. Oh my gosh, what a great story. So yeah, we're in the App Store, we're in the Google Play Store at CutRight, Instagram at CutRite Mobile. Post every day recipes on there that aren't on the app yet, but will eventually be there over the next year. And right now the app has elk and deer on it. By the end of the year, we're hoping we all put in for antelope tags. We're going to do bear. Like, it's no place but up. And growing up in Ohio, man, I was a bluegill crappie fisherman, and so we're also planning to get some fish on there, some pike, some bluegill recipes, perch, crappie, which is amazing, as everyone knows.
Yes, it is.
So, really the sky's the limit with this. And, the price is what it is. It's cheaper than, a coffee and a breakfast sandwich at your favorite establishment.
All right. I appreciate your time. Good luck with the app. It's definitely worth downloading because even the experienced hunter needs a hand once in a while.
I appreciate it, man. That's what we tried to do, cover all of our bases.
All right. Thanks again. And we'll definitely speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.